Yo, so today I'm back with another reaction. Another day, another reaction. As they say, Android is for poor people by some ordinary gamers. Wait, did he change the name? Probably not, right? Some ordinary gamers. I thought it was only. I didn't know it was Blur. Blur. Can't say it. But okay, interesting. This video will be definitely like pretty full of, I don't know, I guess it will address usually girls saying that Android is for poor people and they only date guys with iPhones. My opinion is that, I mean, I don't mind iPhones. It looks nice. Honestly, the phone looks nice, and um the interface is nice, but like it's not advanced enough for me. I can't do much things on there. For example, on my Android, I can, if I got, let's say, Snapchat, Instagram, definitely follow me there. ForGamezCZ. In the description is the name. Uh, when I got, for example, two Snapchat accounts, I can just clone the Snapchat application, into my working profile, and that way I can get the apps there on my phone, twice basically. I can use two accounts without logging out, logging in, and that's not a feature on iOS. So that's the first thing I can think of. And apart from that, I don't know. You just can't do much there on iPhones. You have to jailbreak, and once you jailbreak, from what I heard, it's not very pleasant since obviously some things break and
Androids are for poor people. Ha ha ha! Is what the person in severe credit card debt says when they've given their mortgage payment to Apple.
Classic.
Ladies and gentlemen, I never knew that apparently having a smartphone would dictate your, perception in life.
I also want to say, iPhones are great for older people because older people, don't need these advanced features. They wanted, like a better security. I don't think I mean I don't know about security if iPhone has better security on that, but just because you can't do that much on iPhone, basically it's like security so the user doesn't do anything stupid. For example, my dad clicked the, I can't really believe it how he can trust it, right? But he got the, your battery is low on, I believe, YouTube ad. So he clicked the ad and he got redirected to the website, and basically it said something along those lines. Um Install this application, otherwise your battery will explode in 5 minutes or something like that. And he actually believed it. Can you believe that? He believed it. It's true story, by the way. I mean, it took him more than 5 minutes for him to tell me about it. But still, like, that's crazy, isn't it?
I didn't know that people look down on one another for what smartphone that they own. At the end of the day, I have one thing to say. I have one Muda pill for everyone here to swallow. A smartphone really only matters for a few things, okay? Browsing the web, taking a couple photos of your cat, maybe playing the odd game here and there, and, watching the wild adult video if you happen to come across it. And I would say 100% of every phone in every price range does that exact same thing just fine. Now, ladies and gentlemen, up until this point, I've been an iPhone user for a couple months at this point. I've been using an iPhone for a while. I've switched through different phones, okay? But one of the things that I hate the most is witnessing people have no idea what they're talking about. So I kind of want to ooh, whoa. Goddamn screen fell and almost cracked. That wouldn't have been good, actually. That would have been really salty. Ladies and gentlemen, it fell. It's fine. It fell on carpet. We're good. Whew. That would have really made me salty. Now, ladies and gentlemen, looking at a couple things I found on the internet, such as these beautiful, pages such as Business Insider. Still don't believe Android is for the poor? This chart proves it. This is a 2014 article. This is the reason why I don't trust Business Insider anyways. I think the site is a fucking joke. And if you go around over here, they publish some market research data. Worldwide smartphone OS share by price tier, where they show iOS dominating in the high-end market. Now, I just want to reiterate, Apple only sells overpriced phones anyways, and the world includes places like India, where the average person earns 30 cents a day, okay? That's how fucked up things are over there, okay?
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty sad. I guess he's from there, right? I mean, his origin. But now he's Canadian, I believe. I'm not sure. But yeah, I know, I mean, situation in India, I mean, the money is crazy, and what is especially crazy, in India is the hygiene, the food stands. I mean, that's crazy, And apart from, I don't know, iPhones are actually cheaper in these countries. Not very much, but yeah, they are cheaper than in the US
So
usually.
obviously they're not buying the shiny new iPhone. Now, if you go to Apple's website
Especially
in Canadian
aftermarket.
an iPhone 12 Pro Max, which is what I bought, exact same configuration. No, I didn't get 512 gigs of storage. I don't store that much hentai on my phone. Will run you to around
I actually got
1,689 Canadian,
512,
pennies. Now, at this point, let me tell you, that's about $30 US. Still kind of pricey if you think about it. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm just going to say that, by the way, that's not my postal code, so I didn't dox myself. Don't you ever think I did that. Now, ladies and gentlemen, that's a pricey product for sure. And it's one of those price points where people around the world, especially the younger generation, believe that this is for the rich and the Android is for the poor. All right, how Android jokes are deeply rooted in classism. All right, I know that's an opinion and all, but opinions are like assholes. I'm going to leave them where they're at. Okay?
Honestly, if I was rich, I would get the iPhone just to get access to like iOS exclusive apps, but I can't really think of any. I mean, there was this Clubhouse application, social media, but it died out. It was only for iOS. It was like invite only. Maybe you guys remember. Let me know if you remember. Comment. But it was invite only, and then it died, so it didn't even make it to Android, I believe. But it's the only app, and pretty much everything else, like I can't think of any
I'm
other
only going to lick mine if I have to. Now, my generation thinks owning an Android means you're poor. Ew! Is that an Android? You poor person! I like this one. Y'all Android users just broke, where they give a PayPal balance of negative 2,000. By the way, that's true. Everyone I've ever seen with a goddamn iPhone has a cracked screen. Y'all people are disgusting, okay? Take care of your product, all right?
That's
you just
true.
burned a house payment on it. What the hell?
They are
Why do
probably
people call me
scared
poor
of
for having a
such a high
Samsung?
repair
Why the
fee.
heck? I don't know, dog. Why do you take absolute dipshit seriously? I just laugh at them. Sometimes spit on them, I guess. Androids are for poor people. I want to suck this person's toes. I'm not even saying that as a joke. That's the best bait post you'll ever read. Apple beats Android in every category except for price. But that's justified since Apple phones are at least 3 times better. What a mathematical scale. That means
right.
Androids are for the poor and stupid.
And stupid.
I love this person, dude. Meanwhile,
That's
Apple
funny.
phones are for the middle class and above. Why are iPhones better? Camera quality, better life operating system, app store. Now, this is very deeply rooted in some level of reality. To understand, most people who own smartphones who run this
But honestly, I must say that batteries on iOS are not that high in capacity, but it can actually last very long time. Not gonna lie, that's actually like a real thing. And also the cameras. I mean, on iOS, I mean, I think no Android, I'm pretty sure no Android can beat the newest like iPhone's cameras, honestly. I don't know what it is, but just Android, like Android phones, even the top tier, they can get pretty close to the iPhone cameras, but they can't really replicate it. So, like, if you are like a content creator, honestly, buying an iPhone isn't that bad. But it's that thing, iPhones, if I had iPhone, I got like 5C Android, iPhone, by the way. I bought it just, I don't know why. I thought iPhone 5C would be still like useful in 2023 when I bought it, but it wasn't really. It was $50, so it wasn't cheap, but also wasn't expensive, I guess. But yeah, that's another thing about iPhones. You can't get like custom OS there. So basically, you are stuck on the old, old iOS. You can't do much and all that stuff. Yeah, it's just for waste. But yeah, I don't really know what I wanted to. Yeah. Well, iPhone, if I got iPhone, I would definitely shoot the videos on it, take photographs. But apart from that, I mean, you know, it's nice. iPhones are nice to take a picture, but to to upload the picture to social media, it's better to use Android. Same with video. You know, taking video on iPhone, cool, like nice quality, all that good stuff. But actually uploading it to any site, any social media, Android. So, you know, I mean, let me know your opinion. All right, that's me. Yes.
Like a smartphone war against each other
Yes.
have no fucking clue what they're talking about, okay? You list things like Apple has an A12 Bionic processor. Oh, my Samsung has a Snapdragon in it. They have no idea what any of that means.
Yep.
They have no idea why one phone is a hexa-core, why one is an octa-core, and why sometimes the weaker looking product might be better, because they have no idea how processor topology, how any of this shit actually works. They don't even know the core differences between iOS and Android operating systems, okay? If I told them iOS was based on the BSD kernel and Android was based on the Linux kernel,
really?
they'd be on the ground going, "Ugh!" All right, that's what their brain cells would be processing, okay? Because they'd have no idea what I told them, all right? They'd be freaking the fuck out. Now, ladies and gentlemen, to understand, I'm going to go over a couple things about why I think Android and iOS war shouldn't be handled. As I said earlier on in the video, phones are pretty much good for a few things, okay? Browsing the email, web browsing, okay? Sending a message to your friends, playing some video games, and watching a couple of videos. And 100% of phones on the market pretty much can do that, from the very cheap to the very highest end. Now, since we're talking about Apple today, I'm going to compare it with the highest end Android smartphones out on the market. Okay, Apple charges a very good premium on their products because, at the end of the day, they do actually make a pretty decent product, all right? It's got a good screen, the cameras are nice, it's reasonably fast, and the battery life is worth it, okay? This thing lasts for a day, sometimes 2 days, okay, all right, with some use. I can't say the same for Android products. These things are dog shit for battery life, but hey, that's one of the points we're talking about. Now, as far as the number
actually, Androids get bigger batteries, so they are not optimized that good as iPhones, but they actually can last long time just because they got a bigger capacity, bigger battery, So it's not that bad,
point where people say ecosystem. Now, I have literally talked to every Apple person in the world, and the only thing I can get out of this is, I can't leave the ecosystem. I'm tied to the ecosystem. The ecosystem fucked my mom. The ecosystem is great and all. Whether you're on iOS or Android, there's no doubt that there are some features that keep people entrenched, right?
Happen?
If you're on iCloud or you're on Apple-based services, they usually work pretty well together. If you have a whole suite of Apple products like iPhones, iPads, and Macs, I find it pretty impressive how they interconnect together. So if you're doing a call on your phone, you can within one click carry that
pretty
over
much
to your MacBook.
all of it also works on Samsung.
Now, Android has similar features depending on what flavor you go with, right? Google has its own thing, Samsung has its own thing, Huawei has its own thing, LG has its own thing. There's a lot of Android producers out there. But typically, I would say the ecosystem is pretty interchangeable, okay? I have switched between iPhone and Android products like every 2 or 3 years, okay? When I usually switch a phone back and forth. Sometimes I get the Samsung product, sometimes I get the iPhone product. And for full clarity, when I buy an Android product, all right, I buy usually the higher end products, which is why I don't understand the poor person argument, okay? There are Android phones on the market that cost way above what an iPhone costs. This phone alone costs more than anything an iPhone could ever fucking dream of, okay? I'm not saying that as a flex. I'm saying that because a lot of these people believe that every time they go to the fucking store and they see a $20 Android handset burner that your drug dealer uses to coordinate his drops, all right, they're equating that to the highest end iPhone. How about we equate this fucking iPhone 12 to its reasonable equivalents in Samsung or whatever other high-end smartphone manufacturer for Android? Chances are the Android guys kind of have a little bit better of the feature set. Higher refresh rate screens. Now, at this point, you'll have all these websites like Android Authority with a little bit of a bias, obviously, towards Android, talking about, this CPU beats the A13 or whatever nonsense. And at the end of the day, if this is the argument that people are using and the reason that you have to flex and win the war over the other device, look, bro, the actual differences on these are almost so razor thin that I would actually wager most people wouldn't notice it outside of these carefully presented benchmarks that, by the way, have their own biases towards certain systems anyways. This isn't a deciding factor, and if you're going to use this to flex on somebody else with a different product than you, then just stop, because you have no idea what's actually going on over here, and it's really not that important of a deal to pick one device over the other, especially in this market range, especially in this processor range. It's just not that big of a deal. Higher resolution screens, better sound quality, whatever you want to call it, okay? The cameras are debatable. I've watched enough Marquise Brownlee videos, enough Linus Tech Tip videos, hell, I've watched enough mobile tech reviews on YouTube to notice that unless you're somebody that does photography for a living, you're probably going to isolate the minute differences between each of these camera arrays. At the end of the day, in the high-end market for all these, the cameras are pretty good, okay? Generally, they're pretty solid. I don't think you'll find a simple issue. The old issues of Android phones sucking dick on Snapchat has pretty much been rooted out, okay? Those kind of apps back in the day used older like APIs for cameras.
Actually, nowadays, that's true. I mean, Snapchat actually nowadays still isn't the best on Android. It's much better on iOS. But it's because the devs are from I think Los Angeles. So, the developers are from the US, so I'm assuming most of them are rocking iPhones and they don't care about Androids that much. So, yeah, Snapchat still isn't good on Android, but it was way worse back in the days, true.
Android has generally upgraded, all
but
right?
It's
so
their
overall,
fault.
a lot of these issues are gone.
Fault.
One of the big issues are the bubble colors. I don't understand what's up with a lot of these people. By the way, there's no storm going on. That tree's just on a mind of its own, all right? I live in a weird fucking universe. When you go down to the bubbles, the bubbles. I swear I have talked to iPhone guys who have been surprised when I switched to iPhone, and they're like, Muda, you're on the blue bubbles now? Bro, are we 14 again? Or I am 28. The color of the bubbles do not matter. I have never judged somebody for having the poor person green bubbles or the blue bubbles. At the end of the day, a fucking message is a message, all right? When you text somebody through your message app on an iPhone to another iPhone, it gives you the blue bubbles. Now, this is a far more encrypted way of messaging. It's kind of like using Facebook Messenger or WhatsApp, right? You can basically just message to other iPhone users for free, video call, whatever. It's really cool stuff. However, there are cross-platform apps that let you do the exact same thing between any platform. So the entire argument is pretty fucking moot and point. And for 99% of cases when I'm messaging somebody, I'm sending them a text message. It's pretty invisible to my eye, aside from the bubble color itself, okay? The bubble color does not matter. Imagine putting yourself into a situation. If I was kidnapped and I had one message to send to you about, hey, this is my location, please come and save me. And if your first process is, wow, Muda's poor, he messaged me on the green bubble, then I hope to God you have the worst rest of your life, because if that's what you're thinking, that's a pretty bad way of thinking. Let me tell you, buddy, the colors do not matter. At the end of the day, the ecosystems, while separate, can be pretty easily interchanged if you're willing to go through that initial first headache. And once you do, you'd be surprised about how much you learn and how...
Yeah, it's actually also with changing browsers. Usually people nowadays use Google Chrome, and it's not bad, regarding the speed, but it's not very good for the other stuff, And I believe it's mostly because pretty much all Android phones come with Google Chrome pre-installed. You can also download Opera, Firefox, whatever, Edge, but still, Chrome is installed, most people will use Chrome, and that's pretty bad. I mean, I changed, right now I'm using Firefox on my phone and computer, and honestly, hey, I mean, if you want to be stuck in a bubble, enjoy it, but you should try to seek be more adventurous, right? Experience something new.
Irrelevant, that is, in the grand scheme of things. Unless you're spending thousands of dollars on the App Store versus the Play Store, you can relatively change with ease over time. You might find a few positives on the Android side, and you Android users might find some positives on the Apple side. See, at the end of the day, they're fucking phones, not political statements. You don't have to abide by one based on your entire moral
Some
character.
people
You
view
can
it that way, though.
interchange, dog. It's a swingers party out there. You're missing out. Now, the personalization argument, I'm about to drop this phone again for the 7th time. The personalization argument is something that drives me insane too. Now, this one I'm totally on the side of Android, even though I don't personalize my phone. I think having more features versus not having features is more important. I think iPhone's biggest flaw in the market is the lack of features.
You can't
Apple
do much,
really
yeah.
likes to treat this like it's a Fisher Price phone, and in some ways that's good. The phone is obviously less bloated for the most part.
That's what
and
I said.
It generally runs smoother. Just scrolling around the home screen
Yeah,
for crying
yeah.
out loud versus Android phones. I think iOS.
Yeah, honestly, that's true. I don't know how it's with the Google Pixel phones, the official ones from Google, but usually these Samsung, Xiaomi's, Pocos, they all come pre-installed with at least like Amazon, Facebook, and I guess, I got Amazon installed and Facebook too, but it comes with the device. I also had Netflix, I deleted it. Like, what? That's bad.
Succeeds in that department, right? It's a pretty solid phone. Now, as far as Android goes there, you can add things like, video wallpapers as a background. I don't know why that isn't a thing on iOS. I'm sure when Apple introduces it 4 years down the road, they can claim they're the first people to do it, but I don't know why it isn't a thing. A lot of people really take the customization to heart by arranging their home screens in different ways. Listen, dog, I open up my phone really quickly. I just search for the app and I just Google it that way. I'm not turning my phone home screen into a Tetris layout. Not each page has to resemble a Tetris block, okay? I'm not really using widgets like crazy, so maybe this argument doesn't apply to me. The personalization argument I can kind of understand, but at the same time, I'm just not that
But
creative.
I remember, I don't know if it's a thing anymore. I don't think so. But you couldn't arrange the icons, the app icons, so people on iOS were using like invisible widgets. So the widgets were invisible and they took some space, and that's how we moved the icons. That's pretty crazy, and it was a thing like 3 years ago, I believe. It's pretty recently, like 2 years ago, they introduced that you can actually change it. That's
Person to
crazy.
bother doing it in the first fucking place anyways, all right? Even on my computer, the most I'll ever do is use Wallpaper Engine, and that's pretty much what it comes down to. But it is a plus point for Android. But then this takes me to the next part. Ooh, apps and battery. Now I'm going to combine this into one piece. I think as far as applications are considered, it's pretty much feature parity for both sides, okay? Anybody that complains about apps on either device has no fucking clue what they're talking about. All the popular apps are available on either iOS or Android.
Yes.
In some cases, iOS has a better experience. There was a period where Google apps were better on Apple than they were Google's actual operating system.
Really?
Run that one through your head. But overall, they've gotten pretty easy. They've gotten pretty feature complete for the most part, okay? And if there is an exclusive app on Apple versus Android, there's usually a pretty solid equivalent or a comparative product on either store to somewhat match it, okay? Games are pretty much the same across the board anyways. Apple probably has some more exclusives, and that's fine. Android has its own exclusives too. Each system has its thing, but for the most part... Oh, I got a message over here. Whatever, dude. It's a scam call anyways. But overall, the apps are the same, okay? It generally is the exact same experience.
Yesterday I got like 3 calls from the same number. It was from the UK, man. Come on. Why is someone from the UK calling me? That was already suspicious. I thought maybe somebody was trying to recover a password on some social media site. when you got to put in the ending number, but no, I searched it up and apparently it was like someone affiliated with O2, but I'm pretty sure, I mean, why would someone from UK O2 call me? I mean, I'm in a whole different country, so I'm pretty sure that's a scam. But hey, I don't know.
Across the board. Now, there is one distinct advantage that Android has, and that's the ability to install your third-party apps without using any weird of shady licenses or, the certification methods that Apple may or may not disable down the road. And if you want to install games like Fortnite, for instance, this is the only way. This is the only mobile platform that you can pretty much do it besides dedicated shit like the Switch. And if you want to run, applications that can bypass sort of Apple's own preemptive, blocks, at least on the OS end, you can run it through here with third-party sources. Not to mention, there's a whole slew of emulators available out there for you to dip into if you ever so choose. So there are advantages on the Android side that maybe, with some lawsuits, Apple might consider adding to their own system. Now, as far as battery life goes, I just want to toss it into this entire mix. Most Android products have a dog shit battery life, regardless of their batteries being bigger than Apple. Yeah. This is where most people have no fucking clue what they're talking about. See, iOS is great because it has a bit of a closed ecosystem. Apple can engineer the exact hardware to the software they install, right?
Android
now, the back-end operating system here, while it is smoother, is actually very restrictive. For instance, let's say that you close an app like Mega Upload, right? Like, let's say you close a Mega Upload app, right? It will only stay alive maximum, from what I understand in my programming world, for like 10 minutes, okay? Basically, you can upload a file in the background for like 10 minutes, but let's say that the file takes longer than 10 minutes to upload. Apple will terminate the process to conserve battery life and to keep the health of the phone pretty good. Now, in 99% of the cases, that's actually good, okay? Most people aren't going to notice
but
that.
I wouldn't want
it. Phone running longer, right? That's a pretty good positive.
But they're like beginner,
now, if you're a power user like me, where you want to, upload to servers, manage your servers through SSH on your phones, Android's a lot better in that regard, okay? But over time, like 5-6 months after using any Android device, their battery life goes to shit. They get bloated, it takes years off of its lifespan for some reason, and overall, it's just not that great of an experience. Sure, you can reset the phone, but compared to my Apple product, I didn't have to do that in the first place, and that's a pretty big...
I mean, I had my phone for 3 years, I upgraded because I didn't have enough storage. I had SD card, but nowadays you can't install applications to SD card. It was a thing back in the days on old Android, but not now, because SD cards are usually, slower than the phone storage. But yeah, I had to simply change it because of the storage, and there was an option for me. I could factory reset the phone and set it up again, or just buy a new phone, and it's much easier to just buy a new phone, obviously.
Point. If you're carrying something around that requires it to have a battery, the battery should be good generally. There's a lot of anger from both sides. These phone warriors need to chill out, because this is even more cringe than console wars. At least consoles have exclusives worth fighting for. What the fuck does a phone have that's worth absolutely losing your mind for? In the real world, when you're an adult, guess what? Whatever operating system you use and device you use doesn't actually matter, okay? And if you're one of those people on the Apple side that loves to sip your Starbucks coffees that are overpriced up the ass, showing your overpriced phone off to other people, calling them poor, you're an idiot, all right? You're an absolute waste of space, especially if you don't even understand why your phone is quote-unquote superior to begin with. And if you're an Android user that bought a really expensive phone just to flex on the iOS people, you're just as materialistic and you're just as much of a loser. Point is, enjoy what you have. Be thankful for what you have, okay?
Good
because
message.
there are a lot of people out in the fucking world right now that don't have a goddamn phone to begin with. This is about as first world as a problem as it gets. This is such a first world problem, all right, that it's almost fucking extraterrestrial at this point. So just be thankful for what you have. It doesn't matter if you have an Apple phone or an Android phone. It doesn't matter if your bubbles are blue or your bubbles are green, okay? Email send the exact same way. Call sound the exact same. Your photos almost look the exact same. And guess what? All the goofy videos you watch are the exact same. Hentai plays the exact same way on any smartphone device you get. And if that isn't an argument to end all arguments, I don't know what is. This is me, Mudahar, and if you like what you saw, please like, comment, and subscribe. Dislike it if you dislike it. I am poor.
Oh, well, I think he lied to us, I'm pretty sure. Since you got such expensive Android. Android is for... Oh, 3 years later. So I actually don't know how much something... Wow, I thought this was recent. What? Lil Mayo. I didn't know that, honestly. Some ordinary gamers 3 years ago. But, million views? He probably got... Yeah, I mean, million views, he definitely got like money for one expensive phone. But yeah, anyways, yeah, I spoke a lot. Original in the description. Thank you.